Welcome to Friendly Math 101. Today our lesson is on solving systems by elimination, part 2. One thing that my students are really struggling with right now is determining what to multiply our equations by to get them to eliminate. And I want to teach them to multiply to get to the least common multiple, and that way their equations have smaller numbers and they're easier to work with. But since they're having a hard time determining what the least common multiple is, I'm now teaching them to just multiply the numbers against each other. So for example, if we're going to eliminate our x's, we know that the least common multiple is 9, and the y's, the least common multiple would be 5, and that would be much easier to work with, but they don't know how to do that. So let's go ahead and just use a separate method, a different method. We're going to multiply our two equations against each other. I'm just going to use the x terms. So I'll multiply the top one by 9 and the bottom one by 3. This is going to produce much larger numbers than what we're used to working with, but it's okay, it'll work out in the end anyway. So I get negative 27x plus 45y is equal to negative 252. And I have to be careful with my signs here. If my top x term is negative, I need my bottom one to be positive. And right now, the way I have it, it's not going to become positive. So I'm going to turn this 3 into a negative 3, and I know that negative 3 times negative 9 will give me the positive 27x that I need in order for my equations to eliminate. And this would be 42. So at this point, I can see that one of my variables will eliminate or zero out, so I'm going to combine my two equations. The zero's out, my y terms, when I combine them, I get 42y, and then here I'll get negative 210. We'll divide both sides by 42, and y is equal to negative 5. At this point we have our y value, we need to find our x value, so I'm going to just use one of our original equations. I'll go ahead and use the first one. We're going to substitute our y value in and solve for x. So we get negative 3x plus 5 instead of y. I'm going to substitute in our y value and simplify wherever we can. So this is negative 3x minus 25 is equal to negative 28. We're going to add 25 to both sides of our equation. It zeroes out here. We're left with negative 3x is equal to negative 3. Let's go ahead and divide both sides by negative 3. This will 1 out, and we'll get x is equal to 1. So our solution would be 1, negative 5. Let's take a look at one more example. Here, looking at the equations, I know that if I'm comfortable with least common multiple, I'd want my x's to become 10 and negative 10. And if I'm comfortable with my least common multiples, I would want my y's to become either positive 12 and negative 12, and that would eliminate. But again, my students are really struggling with the whole least common multiple idea. So I'm teaching them to just multiply against each other. And it's easier just looking at the x values. So I'm going to multiply this top equation by 10 and the bottom equation by 2. And I'll fix the signs later if I have to. So here, when I multiply, I get 20x plus 30y is equal to negative 20. And this works out nicely because positive 2 and negative 10, it does equal a negative 20x, which is what we needed. And here this becomes negative 24y equals 32. Let's go ahead and combine our two equations. When we combine them, our x's zero out. 30y minus 24y is 6y, and negative 20 plus 32 is 12. Divide both sides by 6, and we get y is equal to 2. So let's go ahead and use our first equation, and we're going to substitute our y value in, which is 2, and we got that from here. And simplify where we can. Let's distribute to undo the parentheses. So we get 2x plus 6 equals negative 2. Subtract 6 from both sides of our equation. We get 2x is equal to negative 8. Divide both sides by 2, and x is equal to negative 4. Therefore, our solution is negative 4, 2. So again, this isn't the only way of solving systems by elimination. This is actually probably harder for some students because the numbers get bigger. But for those who are struggling to determine what to multiply the equations by in order to get them to eliminate, you can just multiply them against each other. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below, and please subscribe to our channel. Friendly